When you think about really deadly plants, I mean, your mind probably jumps to, I don't know, some exotic jungle vine, right? Or maybe poisons from old history
Yeah,
books.
exactly.
But right here in North America, often just hiding in plain sight in wet meadows or even drainage ditches, we've got this, well, this absolute chemical weapon of a plant.
Hmm.
It's picked up some pretty chilling nicknames over the years. Children's Bane, Death of Man, even the Silent Assassin.
And it's kind of incredible, isn't it, how something related genetically to the carrots we eat could be packing such a terrifying punch.
Right.
Visually, it's pretty unassuming. You see these little clusters of white flowers, what the sources call those adorable lacy parasols.
Yeah, I liked that phrase.
But that harmless look, that's its most dangerous trick. It really is arguably the single most violently toxic plant that grows around here.
And that contrast, the innocent appearance versus this vicious internal chemistry, that's exactly why we need to dig into this today. Our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Get the critical facts straight about water hemlock, figure out why it gets mistaken for other plants so often, which leads to tragedy, and understand how its toxin, cicutoxin, hits the nervous system so incredibly hard and fast.
We really do need to unpack this killer's disguise
Yeah.
because it is a master of just visual deception. If you're
Yeah.
someone who likes foraging
Hmm.
or even just, walking near a stream or marshy area, the margin for error is, well, it's basically zero.
Okay, let's jump straight into that deceptive identity then. Water hemlock, we're talking about the genus Cicuta. It's a pretty robust perennial plant.
Mm-hmm.
It really loves wet, muddy spots, think pond edges, swamps, ditches. And it can get surprisingly tall, sometimes reaching up to 2 meters.
Yeah, over 6 feet. And those distinctive flower clusters, those umbrella shapes made of tiny white flowers, they're called umbels.
Right, like little sunshade in Latin.
Exactly. And that structure, that's the first clue it belongs to the carrot family, Ibiaceae.
Hmm.
But here's the problem. Tons of other common, perfectly harmless plants share that same look.
And that sets the whole trap, doesn't it?
It really does.
That's the core danger here. The sheer number of lookalikes is, well, it's kind of astonishing. You've got things like Queen Anne's lace, common yarrow, field caraway, even cow parsnip and water parsnip.
Yeah, a whole list.
And the difference between something safe and something deadly often comes down to really subtle details that, a casual hiker just wouldn't spot.
And the deception, it goes even deeper than just the flowers.
Mhm.
If you were to pull it up and look at the roots, they often look thick, fleshy, almost carroty, as some sources describe them.
Okay.
And when you crush them, they apparently give off a smell that's weirdly like fresh turnip. But the deadliest trick of all, reports say the roots actually taste slightly sweet.
Oh, that's bad.
Really bad. That sweetness can encourage someone, maybe livestock, maybe a curious kid, to take another bite, ingesting a lethal dose almost immediately.
Wow, that sweet taste detail is genuinely chilling. And this isn't just like one rare plant in one specific spot, is it? This danger is pretty widespread. We're talking about 4 main species of cicuta just in North America.
That's right. You've got C. maculata and C. bulbifera, which are found pretty broadly across the continent. Then there's C. douglasii, which tends to stick more to the northwest.
That's okay.
But the real globetrotter of the group, arguably, is C. verosa. That one isn't just in northern North America. It's also widespread across northern Asia and even into northern and central Europe.
So a huge range.
Massive. That huge distribution combined with how potent it is, well, it tells you something about its evolutionary success as a toxic defense strategy.
Since that disguise is so good, let's get under the hood, so to speak. How does the chemistry actually work? What turns this ordinary-looking weed into such a violent convulsant?
Yeah, this is where it gets really, really interesting chemically. The main weapon here is cicutoxin.
Cicutoxin, okay.
And unlike a lot of other plant poisons people might have heard of, this isn't an alkaloid like nicotine or caffeine. It's actually classified as a highly toxic, unsaturated alcohol. And it typically has this yellowish color.
An alcohol, huh?
Yeah, and this toxic alcohol is most concentrated down in the roots, especially when the plant is dormant over winter or just starting to grow in the spring.
But the roots are the main danger zone.
Absolutely. I mean, all parts of the plant are poisonous, but the root system is basically just a reservoir of this stuff. What's really terrifying, though, is the specific dose needed. Sources say ingesting just about 0.5% of your body weight in the fresh root material is often lethal.
0.5% of body weight? Okay, translate that for me. For an average adult, what are we talking about?
We're talking about maybe a single bite, something like a 2 to 3 centimeter piece of the root, Just one small, curious nibble, and the outcome can be grim very quickly. The speed is just, it's frightening.
That is incredibly potent.
And it's not just if you swallow it. This toxin is remarkably effective. Cicutoxin can actually be absorbed pretty rapidly through any mucous membrane.
You mean like in your mouth?
Exactly. The sources bring up this absolutely chilling detail. There are documented cases of children dying simply from playing with whistles they made by hollowing out the plant's stems.
Just from mouth contact, not even swallowing.
Just from that contact. The poison absorbed right through the soft tissues in the mouth.
That's staggering. It really tells you something about how volatile this toxin must be, how easily it gets into the system.
It tells us the mechanism of action is incredibly fast and efficient. Which brings us right to the core question. How does cicutoxin actually hijack the central nervous system?
Yeah, let's get specific. For a while, descriptions were a bit vague, but toxicologists seem pretty clear now, right? What's the actual cellular target?
The main target is a specific receptor in the brain called the GABA-A receptor. Now, GABA, that's gamma-aminobutyric acid, is the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter.
Inhibitory, meaning it slows things down.
Precisely. Think of GABA as the brake pedal for your entire nervous system. It's constantly telling your neurons, okay, calm down, don't fire quite so much. It prevents everything from going haywire.
So it provides the sort of speed bumps for the mind, keeping electrical activity in check. What does cicutoxin do to those brakes?
Cicutoxin acts as what's called an antagonist. It basically jams itself into the GABA-A receptors and blocks them. It disables the brain's braking system.
Oh, wow.
So without those brakes working properly, the nerve cells just start firing uncontrollably, hyperactively. It creates this massive, sudden electrical storm across the brain.
And that electrical storm is the seizure.
That's the seizure, triggered almost immediately.
That absolutely explains the horrific speed then. Can you walk us through the symptoms? Like, what does poisoning actually look like step by step?
Yeah, we can generally break it down into about 3 rapid stages. First, the initial phase, which can start anywhere from, say, 15 minutes to maybe 90 minutes after ingestion. This involves pretty severe gut issues, nausea, really bad abdominal pain, and usually profuse vomiting.
Is the vomiting helpful at all?
It's actually thought to be maybe a kind of protective reflex, the body trying desperately to just physically get rid of the plant material before more toxin is absorbed.
But often it's too late by then, I imagine, if that initial defense doesn't work.
Exactly. If enough toxin gets absorbed, the severity escalates fast. You move into the severe phase. This includes things like profuse sweating, excessive drooling, and serious difficulty breathing. Often the skin can take on a kind of bluish or purplish tinge that's cyanosis from lack of oxygen.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, in the cases that turn fatal, which is estimated to be around 30% of reported poisonings, you get the onset of these really severe generalized seizures. The big ones, known as tonic-clonic convulsions.
And the ultimate cause of death is usually linked directly to the seizure itself.
Primarily, yes. Death often results from something called status epilepticus. That means either a single seizure that lasts longer than 5 minutes or multiple seizures happening back-to-back without the person regaining consciousness in between.
Right.
This relentless neurological storm basically exhausts the body, leading to respiratory failure, or the heart just gives out cardiac arrest.
Given that terrifying timeline, maybe less than an hour from eating it to life-threatening seizures, is there realistically much chance for medical help even if you get to a hospital quickly?
Well, that brings up a really critical point about the treatment reality. Because the toxin acts so fundamentally and so fast, there is currently no specific antidote for cicutoxin poisoning.
No antidote at all.
None. Medical treatment is purely symptomatic or supportive. Doctors focus entirely on managing the symptoms, trying to control those severe seizures, usually with high doses of anticonvulsant drugs, and providing really aggressive life support like ventilators to help with breathing and drugs to support heart function. But time is absolutely the enemy here.
Wow. The sheer toxicity of water hemlock really highlights that the whole carrot family, the Apiaceae, has some seriously dangerous members, doesn't it? Maybe we should quickly mention a couple of its notorious cousins, just for context.
Absolutely. It's a family with a bit of a dark side. The most famous and often confused cousin is poison hemlock. That's Conia maculatum. It's a different genus entirely, but people mix them up all the time.
Right, poison hemlock. That's the Socrates killer, isn't it?
That's the one. And while they might look a bit similar, their toxic strategies are completely different.
Okay, how so? We know water hemlock uses cicutoxin to cause convulsions.
Poison hemlock, on the other hand, uses different chemicals, primarily the alkaloid conine. Conine is a neurotoxin, but instead of causing overactivity, it causes paralysis. It typically starts in the legs and moves upwards, eventually paralyzing the respiratory muscles.
So one causes seizures, the other causes paralysis, both deadly, but different mechanisms.
Exactly. Fundamentally different ways of attacking the nervous system.
And then there's another relative that attacks in a completely different way again, giant hogweed.
Ah, yes. Giant hogweed. If water hemlock is an ingestion killer, giant hogweed is all about contact. Touching it is the danger.
How does that work?
It's a fascinating defense. The sap of giant hogweed contains chemicals called furocoumarins. Now, these chemicals themselves aren't immediately harmful, but if you get the sap on your skin and then that skin gets exposed to sunlight, UV radiation.
Oh.
Yeah. The UV light activates the furocoumarins, causing a severe reaction called photodermatitis.
Photodermatitis. So light-induced skin inflammation, what does that actually look like?
It's nasty. Within about 24 to 48 hours after the sap plus sun exposure, you develop these really aggressive, painful, weepy rashes and deep blisters. They look like severe chemical burns.
Oh.
And they can lead to permanent scarring or changes in skin pigmentation, like dark spots. They can last for years. And crucially, if you get that sap in your eyes, it can cause temporary or even permanent blindness. It basically weaponizes sunlight against you.
Plant that makes you afraid of the sun. Okay, so circling back to our main subject, the silent assassin, water hemlock. It's widespread, loves common wet areas. What about controlling it? If someone finds this on their property, what are the challenges?
The control is really, really difficult because it thrives in those wet places. Swamps, ditches, riverbanks. Standard herbicides often aren't very effective, or using them risks damaging the whole wetland ecosystem.
Right.
And just trying to pull it out by hand is also super risky because remember, the toxin can potentially be absorbed through the skin, although ingestion is the main worry. Still, you don't want to handle it casually.
So if removal is absolutely necessary, what's the safe way to do it?
Maximum caution. You need full protective gear, thick gloves, long sleeves, maybe even eye protection. And the key is you must get out the entire root system, every last fragment.
Because that's where the toxin is concentrated.
Exactly. That's the chemical reservoir.
Right.
Then all that plant material needs to be carefully disposed of, usually by burning it completely to destroy the cicutoxin. You definitely don't want to just toss it on a compost pile or leave it lying around.
That whole procedure just underscores the main message, doesn't it? Positive identification is absolutely critical. Extreme caution is needed. If you're someone who enjoys foraging or even just hiking or spending time near wet, marshy areas, you have to know what water hemlock looks like. And if you see something that even vaguely resembles it, give it a very, very wide berth. That innocent-looking plant, especially the root, contains enough power to unleash a devastating neurological storm in mere minutes.
Yeah. And, it makes you think. This defense mechanism, cicutoxin, it works by fundamentally shutting down the core neurological controls that are shared by mammals, by us, and many other complex animals.
Right, the GABA system is pretty universal.
It is. So considering how widespread this genus Cicuta is, especially C. virosa, spanning North America, Asia, and Europe, what does the sheer evolutionary success of such a potent, fast-acting chemical defense tell us about the ongoing chemical warfare in the natural world, about the competitive pressures that drive plant survival?
That is a fascinating question. Definitely something for all of you listening to mull over. Perhaps the next time you spot some delicate white flowers blooming near a stream. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into North America's most violently toxic plant.